Hello everybody, I'm Adam Welch. Finally getting this video posted up on KNF Concept, their brand new square filter system. They sent me a lot of stuff. We're going to go over all that kind of thing. Now, to get started, you can skip over this. By the way, I'm going to take a couple minutes to kind of familiarize you or refamiliarize you with the difference between square and circular filters beyond the obvious. So, like I said, it's not going to take long at all. Like I said, if you want to skip ahead, future me will put the time code somewhere over there so you can skip to that part, the actual review. Okay, square filters. Ta-da. Go figure, they're square. The ones that come in the KNF Concept square filter kit are all 100 by 100 millimeters. Now, contrasting that with a circular filter, again, color you shocked, you know, that's a circular filter. Now, circular filters come in a variety of actual different filtration systems. You can have circular polarizers. This is an ND filter. You can actually have some more rare things. This is a circular GND filter. Got the graduation going there. You don't see those too often. And then, actually, might as well show you everything here. These are all from Breakthrough Photography, at least this one and the first one. These are, they're magnetic filters. They're technically circular, but they function kind of as a square filter because you have to use a holder, and we're about to talk about all that right now. So, speaking of holders and everything else, what comes in the KNF Concept square filter kit? They've actually sent me one other filter. What you get with the kit is, of course, 2 square filters and some of the sexiest filter cases I've ever seen. They're 100 by 100 millimeters, like I said. There's one that's an ND64, and I think there's one that's an ND1000. So the ND64, I think, is a 6-stop ND filter, and then the ND1000 is a 10-stop. So yeah, that's a really dark puppy. You get this snazzy filter holder, which is a lot better than what I thought it was going to be. That's what actually is going to hold the filters. And the creme de la creme, what I'm really impressed with and what makes this thing kind of unique, this system very unique, is you get 8 different adapter rings. God, that's annoying, isn't it? Anyway, you get 8 different adapter rings, and that's going to come in very handy in using these filters with many different lenses with varying filter thread sizes. And last but definitely not least, KNF Concept sent me a GND filter. I think this is, don't get me lying to you, the GND 8. What's that? Yeah, it's a 3-stop ND filter, GND filter, very soft gradation. That is a 100 by 150 millimeter dimension, kind of a standard size for a lot of GND filters these days. All right, so let's take each item one by one, starting off, folks. Look at this. I just want to look at it again just to see it. I don't know if they're leather or not. They may be imitation leather, if that bothers you, so I can't say. But I've never saw, I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but I've never saw an extraction system for the filters quite like this. Of course, the closure is magnetic, very good magnetic, by the way. It has this little guy right here. It's like a magic trick. I absolutely love that. Like I said, I don't know if that's something new. Surely it's not something new that KNF have come up with, but if it is, that's brilliant. That is great for pulling the filters out without having to touch them as much, really minimizing the possibility of getting smudges on there, especially in the wintertime. If you've got heavily gloved hands, man, that is going to be absolutely perfect for getting those filters out of there. You know, I'm always going on about something that probably a lot of people won't find very interesting, like lens hoods, lens caps, that kind of ambiguous thing. But I can't get over that. That's amazing to me. And as far as I know, all of the cases, that includes the GND filter case, they all have that ripcord extrusion device, because I like to say extrusion, included with the case design. So square filter, GND filter. The holder, I'm almost certain this is aluminum. I don't have any documentation to back that up, but it's a lot more sturdy made than I thought it was going to be. KNF Concept is one of those companies I've worked with for quite a few years now, and they have went from I guess, very budget friendly. I mean, hell, they're still budget friendly, but as far as the quality, it's progressively improved over the years. I've tested their tripods, I've tested their filters. Tested something else from them, I think. But anyway, I've tested a lot of their products is what I'm getting at. And this is probably, as far as the entire package is concerned, some of the most qualitative gear that I think I've tested from KNF. So good for you, KNF. Anyway, the holder. This will hold up to 2 filters at a time, square or rectangular like that GND filter. It has a nice little spring-loaded attachment. I'll show you how all this attaches to the lens too here in just a second. I kind of like the color scheme. Something that really impressed me that's actually not present on some of my other filter holders. I generally shoot exclusively, not KNF concept, but exclusively breakthrough photography filters for my personal work. I have their magnetic filter holder and I have their regular, I think it's the XD100 filter holder. None of that has this flocking. See this little felt, or maybe you can or can't see that, but around the perimeter of this filter holder, you have this felt flocking, and that is really a light seal. So when you attach this to your lens, that is going to help minimize the reflections. This is the lens attachment side. This is the filter attachment side, and there's the flocking. That's really going to help minimize the amount of reflection or the amount of scattered light that's bouncing around inside of the filter holder. And especially if you have a lens that has white writing around the circumference of the lens, that is going to really cut down on reflections, especially when you're shooting directly into the sun. So the holder seems well made. The thing, like I mentioned, that makes it very unique, you have 8 of these adapter rings. Now, these adapter rings are essentially step-up rings, or I guess you could be step up or step down, but we'll talk about that. So a step-up ring lets you use a filter that is too big for the filter thread size of your lens with, without having to get another filter. So I'm filming right now on a 67 millimeter filter thread size. I think this is a 77 to 82. So if I had a 67 millimeter step-up ring, I could use an 82 millimeter filter with this lens without having to get another filter or a dedicated filter for that lens. The downside to that is you can't use a smaller filter with a larger lens diameter. So I couldn't say, since that's a 67 millimeter filter thread, this is a 58, I could never use this filter on that lens. And that finally is where we come down to the benefit of a square filter system. With these, all you would have to do is, let's say, let's get one that actually works. Just for giggles. Okay, this is a 67 millimeter adapter. This comes in with the kit. What you would do, screw the adapter onto the lens. You would attach the holder to the adapter. And like I said, guys, we're gonna go over this. So you attach the holder to the adapter, and then gingerly slide your filter into the holder, and you're done. Now these are 100 millimeters, so that would cover at least, I think the largest adapter ring we have goes up to 82 millimeters. That's actually a very large filter size. And we've got 8. Go ahead and get this out of the way now. Put this boy up. Okay, so the 8 adapters, they range from, let me just name them off here. From the small side, we have a 49 millimeter, a 52 millimeter, 58 millimeter, 62 millimeter, 67 millimeter, 72 millimeter, 77 millimeter, all the way up to the big guy right here, that 82 millimeter. So what this means is, instead of having to use, well, for one thing, instead of having to like really go all out and buy multiple circular filters of different filter thread sizes for all of your lenses that are, different widths, or getting the step-up ring, or if you have smaller filters, you have bigger filter threads, you can't use them at all. This will let you adapt all of these filters, the 2NDs and the GND. They make some more too. I'll tell you about that later on in the video. But it lets you adapt all these and use them across your entire lens system. It doesn't matter. As long as you have an adapter ring that fits the lens that's in the size range of the holder, You can use these filters with anything. So that's a rundown of the actual filter system itself. The quality, like I said, at least in my uses over the last few weeks, superb. I like the flocking on the holder. The thing that I wanted to mention before we actually move into the optical test is that the actual slots on the holder, I assume it's some type of ABS plastic or some kind of poly. I'm not sure exactly what that is, but they are extremely tight to the point to where I would maybe be worried about breaking the filter. At least that longer, that 150 millimeter GND filter. Show you what I mean. This is on the slot closest to the front of the lens. I mean, I put in a pretty good bit of effort. Once it gets going, it's not bad. Yeah. So that's how that would look, but I mean, getting that thing out of there kind of makes me a little nervous. All right. Eureka. I'll tell you what, I've got my screwdriver set here. There's 4 screws on the front of this. Let me just see if I can back those out a little bit to see if that loosens up that fitment just a tad. I'm sure over time that might stretch out, but I'm just asking for a crushed filter. Let's see if that did anything. Maybe kind of, but then again, those screws were an all or nothing kind of thing. I would actually probably want to tighten those back up. So hopefully over time, this will loosen up just a little bit. So if you get yours and it's really tight, just be really careful when you're putting your filters in or removing them so you don't end up with a handful of glass. The material of the filters themselves, they are stated to be tempered glass, multi-coated glass. I don't know what kind of glass this is. I think I read, it's not in the booklet that comes with the filters. I think it might have been on KNF's website, where this is some type of German optical glass. Generally, I think that may be referring to shot optical glass. Case in point, like Breakthrough Photography, in their filters, they use shot 270. I believe it's shot 270 optical quality glass. Very good glass as far as optics, as far as clarity, and strength too, if it's tempered correctly, which they are. And the weird thing about it is, the elephant in the room is generally filter companies, if they're using a glass that good, they're going to want to tell you about it. And KNF doesn't specifically say that it's shot. It says it's a German optical glass. So I don't know, but overall, the finish of them, corners perfectly rounded. I'm especially impressed with the GND filter, just the gradation and the clarity of the glass, that transition. Sexy as hell. I would probably put these, I think they're about 2 to 3 millimeters thick. Sorry, I didn't bring the calipers out here, so I'm not going to measure them. But just overall, in the hand, from my fairly extensive experience with filters, they feel pretty good, guys. I wouldn't have any trouble probably using these as far as longevity is concerned. So instead of like showing you location shooting or show like sample images that I've processed, landscapes, that kind of stuff, I'm going to do more or less a very controlled, dedicated optics experiment, quality experiment here. I'm going to pull down the white backdrop. I'm going to set the white balance to the backdrop in camera, and then I'm going to move through various lenses and test the filters to see if there's any color cast, to see if there's any degradation at the corners or anything like that. And hopefully we can have a very, very, very controlled type of test. At least that's what I'm hoping. So let's get to rolling. It's a roll. So what we're going to do is test out the different filters on different lenses on this white paper backdrop. And I just realized I really need to change that out. It's got wrinkles all over it, but it's not going to affect us. So I'm not using artificial light. I'm using natural light. I've got the big bay door open on the studio here, which is virtually the same size as the paper. So we should have very even light source. I'm going to set the custom white balance. Sony A7R Mark III. It was set up. So now, as far as the camera's brain happens to be concerned, that backdrop is absolutely pure white. So I'm going to attach the, let's start with the ND64. So that's a 6-stop. I'm going to attach that. I'll show you how that's done, and then we'll just progressively move up, and we'll end up with the GND filter. And then I'll probably put on some of the circular filters from Breakthrough just to kind of have a comparison there. So let's go. So first, what we're going to do is attach the 67mm adapter ring to this Sony 24-70mm f4. There's really no mistake. Of course, there's an instruction booklet that comes with the filter system, but one side is threaded male, the other side is threaded female, so innie and outie. So let's put this on the lens. There we go. So that is the lens set up with the adapter ring, 67mm, and we'll try to do this with one hand. This is the actual filter holder that should fit right on the outside of the adapter ring. Of course, the filter slots go on the outside. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. I'm not sure about the looseness of that, but I don't know, we'll see. It's not overly loose, but it's definitely not overly tight either. So I'm going to put the ND64, which is this guy right here, into the holder. This is what may be tricky with how tight that was. I always work from the lens side out. Actually, that's already, yeah, that's loosened up quite a bit. Okay, actually, that's pretty easy. So here's the setup. KNF Concept variable filter holder system. This is the 24-70mm. I'm going to be shooting at 24mm, and then I'm going to put a 50mm prime on there, and then end up with a 300mm telephoto, just to kind of go through the main focal length ranges. So I'm going to shut up. Let's see what this can do. I wanted to share this with you just from the back of the camera. Of course, you can see my shadow there. That's really unavoidable. But so the back of the camera, it looks kind of blue, but we're going to look at these in Lightroom later on anyway and compare them. So anyway, let's just make the picture. Okay, so that's the picture. Like I said, folks, at least on the back of the camera, not sure how well you can tell that there. We're looking a little cyan, guys, a little blue. You can tell from the backdrop itself, and then that. But anyway, like I said, we're going to look at these in post, and we'll kind of see. So I am definitely going to do some tests with some other filters to have a comparison. I took just a plain photo before this to have a baseline as well. So yeah, let's go through the pictures, change out the lenses. I'm going to put the 10-stop on there now and see how that one performs. So I've just mounted the 10-stop filter, and this may be an issue, well, not really an issue, but possibly a quality control thing, because this filter was much more difficult to get into the holder than that ND64, that 6-stop filter. So it may be just a minute difference in the sizing here. Who knows? I just know the ND64 was a lot easier to get in the holder than this ND1000. The next up to bat here is my beautiful, ever so faithful Canon 50mm f1.4. This one has a 58mm filter thread size, so I've got the 58mm adapter ring here. Same process as before, hopefully. Yeah. So that is the adapter on there. And I've still got the 10-stop filter loaded up in our holder here. Just going to leave it in, and then make sure I have the right side here. Just going to put this on. Well, I would say like so. There we go. Somehow easier to do from that angle. So that's our filter on the 50mm. I'm going to shoot our image with this and then switch out to the 6-stop. And then I'm not going to show you the images there. Then I'll put the 300mm on there, 70 to 300mm on there, and change out the filter holder. I'll probably show that just for giggles. And then we'll move on, probably put the 24 to 70mm back on to test the GND. Last but not least, our final lens up to bat here is, I think this is technically the first lens I ever purchased to go on my N55, a Nikon N55. A long time ago, the first non-kit lens, that is. This is a 70 to 300mm, literally shot, well, really everywhere. Atlantic coast, Pacific coast, Yosemite. Anyway, I digress. So this lens actually has a 62mm filter thread size. So we have the 62mm adapter ring. Yeah. There is no, there we go, no kind of lock on this lens, so that's on. Now we'll attach the, I think I have the 3-stop still loaded up. Same song and dance as before. And there we go. So let's get these shot. I've got the 24 to 70mm back on here. And now we have the GND filter. GND 8, so that's about a 3-stop. Soft gradation. All right, let's put this bad boy in. I'll mention now, it would probably, at least in practice, be much more efficient and probably better on your camera, especially the lens mounts, to load your filters in the holder prior to putting them in. And you can see what I was talking about as far as the friction. That may be, there we go, a little difficult. Hopefully you can see the gradation there. I'm going to put it about mid lens and just see how we're looking here. Let me slide that down just a little bit more. Starting to see the top of the darkening effect. There we go. And then, like I said, that's kind of willy-nilly on the span, but it's not too bad. Yeah, I think we're going to roll with that. To introduce a horse late in the race here, but decided I had to go in and get a step-up ring for the next little part of the test. And I decided to grab my Breakthrough Photography 3-stop GND filter to compare to the K&F Concept 3-stop GND filter. Of course, these are both soft gradations. They're not hard stops. Again, Breakthrough on the right, K&F on the left. You can see a little more gradual gradation on the Breakthrough Photography, where this is more abrupt with the K&F. A little more rounded edges on the Breakthrough, little harder edges there. The main difference I did notice, now as far as thickness, they're really the same, more or less. Oh, can I pick it up? Yes, I can. There we go. Yeah, so thickness, for all practical purposes, about the same. They feel the same. But if you'll notice on the K&F Concept, you can see the darkness, and as it softens up with a gradient, the glass gets progressively clearer. Now with the Breakthrough, of course, softer gradation going down as far as the transition, but they have taken the trouble to darken the entire periphery of the plate. That can kind of help cut down on, again, that scatter. But keep in mind, I have to look this up, and definitely at the end of the video, we're going to talk about prices. This is infinitely cheaper than this one. Not infinitely, but substantially cheaper. The K&F is over the Breakthrough, so you would expect some of the more nuanced things to be happening over here with the Breakthrough or the K&F Concept. But we're definitely going to check out the optical quality, because I'm going to do a test with the GND filter from Breakthrough Photography as well, and compare it to the GND from K&F. Just a quick aside, I guess you could say. This is the Breakthrough Photography filter. It's Yeah, it's 100 millimeter by 150 millimeter as well. So the same size supposedly as the KNF. It fits perfectly in the KNF holder, actually a little better than the KNF concept itself. I've got a feeling this one is probably my neighbor drives a Bumblebee. Anyway, let's go ahead and get this done. We'll muscle through it. The breakthrough actually fits a little bit better in the KNF concept holder than does the actual KNF concept filter. I believe breakthrough may have a little bit tighter tolerances on their filter sizing. All right. So yeah, I think that's got the actual test wrapped. I'm going to go in, grab the laptop, get these converted over, button everything up here, and we're going to see the tail of the tape as far as the optical quality is concerned of these new filters from KNF Concept compared to some other filters. And here we are in Lightroom Classic. I've got the test images loaded up here. We're going to start off with the baseline. This is no filter. This is with the 24 to 70 millimeter f4. Oh, and by the way, all these were shot at f4, except for the 70 to 300 millimeter Nikon. That one, I think the maximum aperture or minimum aperture on that one, actually got it right here, is no, that's f4. So yeah, we were f4 across the board. I thought I was going to be f5, 6. Anyway, I'm going to dial this exposure down. Again, this is just the white background. No filter. Let's just put this up in reference view. Now I'm thinking about it. So there we go. Both of these are the same picture right now. We're going to put up the reference view here at the right. The picture on the left here, again, no filter. So the first time we went with the, yeah, that's the 6-stop square KNF filter. Brighten that up just a little bit. See if we can get the histograms to match, kind of, sort of. Yeah, that's a fairly substantial blue color cast, and I'll preempt this, folks, with saying, true, it's a little blue. Didn't mean to make a rhyme there. Poet didn't know it. But in post with digital, it's one click, and you're more or less, back to even white there. Probably more white than the reference view. But anyway, reset that. That being said, that does have quite the color cast to it. Let's see that's the 3-stop, the 6-stop. Here's the 10-stop. Very interesting there. The color cast is not as noticeable. It's much warmer, if any. So the 10-stop, when you adjust that exposure a little bit, that's pretty close. That's impressive. Okay, I like that. That's a good point. Again, this is with a 24 millimeter to 70 millimeter. We shot these at 24 millimeter, and this is going to be the baseline with the 50 millimeter. Yeah, get that up there. So that's baseline with the 50 millimeter no filter. This is going to be the 50 millimeter with the 3-stop. I keep wanting to call that a 3-stop. It's a 6-stop. Sorry, the 6-stop square filter from KNF. Again, the same kind of bluish color cast. Yeah, kind of blue, and par for course. This was the 10-stop. We're seeing that much warmer. No real color cast when you adjust for the exposure. Not for any practical purposes. So yeah, definitely the 10-stop so far has been the winner. I didn't do a baseline photo for the 70 to 300 millimeter, but this is the color cast from the 6-stop. Again, the same kind of bluish green kind of chartreuse color cast. Easier to get rid of in Lightroom, just like that, but still, this probably wouldn't be a problem if you're shooting exclusively digital. My fellow film shooters, maybe an issue. Let's see, that's the 6-stop. Wow, again, across the board, the 10-stop, much better as far as color cast, virtually no color cast, honestly, when you adjust for the exposure. Now here we're moving into that GND, that 3-stop GND. This is the breakthrough photography filter on the 24 to 70. So let's just bring the original 24 to 70 image up there. It's difficult to say. Really, the gradation looks very good. There's not a harsh or abrupt change between the darkening effect up top and then the lighter at the bottom. But you can see. Let's bring up our 6-stop neutral density filter, and you can see it's almost the same kind of bluish color tint. Yeah, up top there, at least when compared to the baseline. Now if we take a look at the breakthrough photography, same careful gradation going down, really not any color cast, just the darkening. I don't know, there may be, no, actually I think that's just how I'm viewing that on the screen. That is impressive as most breakthrough photography filters are. Yeah, as you go down there, there's no color cast. So yeah, really as expected, at least at the price point. I am kind of surprised though. Generally, the darker the filter, the more pronounced that color cast would be. But in our case with the KNF, it seemed like it would be the opposite. You have the 6-stop, very blue, very cyan, like that kind of aqua blue green. But then that's with the 6-stop again. But with the 10-stop, much warmer. And again, when adjusted for the exposure, it's virtually no color cast at all. So that's definitely interesting. These next few images I didn't actually record me capturing, but I wanted to test out the sharpness over some varying stacking with the filters. So what I have here, and sorry guys, I thought I took a baseline image of my fence here before the filters, but apparently I didn't. Don't worry, we've got one coming up a little bit later. But of course, this is my fence. This is with the 24 to 70 millimeter f4 Sony lens again. This was shot at 70 millimeters. It was on a tripod. I put it on a 2-second timer, so there shouldn't be really any shake going on to affect the sharpness. This was with the ND64 filter. So that 6-stop square neutral density filter. Interestingly enough, I set the camera on auto white balance on this, and it worked so much better than my self-set white balance that I did on that seamless paper. So yeah, the blue cast really isn't there, and if it's there, it's definitely not as pronounced as it was with the manual white balance. So food for thought. Auto white balance seems to work pretty well with these filters, at least on the Sony A7R Mark III. So this is the 6-stop filter. Sharpness, this is center sharpness. That's at 200%. Back that off to 100. Looks pretty good. I don't think you'll honestly, for all practical purposes, sharpness is not an issue here with these filters. This is the 10-stop. Let's see here. Where are you, 10-stop? Okay, there we go. Same thing. Sharpness looks great. You can even make out a little tiny splinters there in between that wood grain. Over here to the corners, again, this is 70 millimeters and a little soft over here, but I think that should, yeah, that's just inherent to this lens, I think. And it also could be geometric because the fence kind of, the boards bow slightly, so we may be getting out of the depth of field. And these last 3 pictures I did to test the GND filter. That's a 3-stop GND filter that came with the kit, and I ended up stacking and did a long exposure. I think it was a 25-second exposure. But this one is shot with no filter. This is at 24 millimeters. I had the focus spot set right here, somewhere where the sun was coming through this tree. Get a look at the sharpness. I think I'm a little off focus here anyway.
maybe that old lens is showing some age. But at least we have a baseline without the filter. So I popped on the GND filter. You can tell that instantly improves the exposure here, balanced out that sky. Let's go to reference view because I don't think there's going to be any degradation as far as the sharpness anyway. So this is the one on the left is the one without the filter, and the one on the right is with, and that's right there at the border of that gradation. Let's go to 100%. I think that's, if there's any kind of issue here, it would be slight. And in some places, I think the one with the filter looks even more sharp than the one without the filter. So I think, again, that was a focus issue on my part. So definitely, yeah, again, for all practical purposes, I think these filters aren't really going to be affecting sharpness at all. And this final image is going to be with that 3-stop GND filter stacked with that 10-stop neutral density filter. So a lot of filtration. You know, this was a 30-second exposure. So that is, what did I say, the 3-stop with the 10 stops, so it's 13 stops of exposure. Reduction on the sky. I think I had probably should have raised that GND up just a little bit, but I'm going to fix that right meow here in post. And that is the sharpness test for this square filter system from KNF. I think the sharpness is going to be just dandy.
As far as anything else, there's no vignetting, which is again to be expected because these filters are so much bigger than the lenses themselves. Yeah, I think overall, optically, not too bad, especially if you're shooting digital. But let's talk about everything as a total package about whether or not the KNF square filter system would be right for you. All right, so what's the final verdict on the KNF Concept square filter system here? I gotta say, based on price, based on quality, both build and optical quality from the tests here, and of course those cases, I am thoroughly impressed. Probably one of the best products I've ever reviewed from KNF, and that's saying a lot. I told you I was going to talk about the price here. The system, as you see it here, I'm on KNF's website right now, $134.99. That is the holder. That is the 8 adapter rings. That is the GND 8, the graduated neutral density filter, and the 10 stop, that's the ND 1000, the 10 stop square ND filter. That all comes for might as well call it $135 US. Free shipping. I want to add as well that the folks from KNF Concept were good enough to grease the gears a little bit and give me a 5% discount for everything that you order through my link. You gotta love the internet. So yeah, if you order through the link that I put down there, use a discount code, you get 5% off of everything. And just to kind of round out the prices here, again, $135 more or less US for the filter system minus that ND64 square filter. So that would be the entire holder system plus the GND 8 and the ND 1000. They also have a GND 8 and the filter holder set for $99.99. As far as the filter availability that they have as of today, as I'm looking at their website, they have the filter the GND filter that we've just looked at. That's the 3-stop soft graduation. They have a 4-stop soft graduation. They have a 4-stop reverse graduation. That's where the top of the darkening effect is a little bit less, then it gets darker, and then it gets clearer towards the bottom. They have a 3-stop reverse graduated. Okay, so they have a 3 and a 4-stop reverse graduated. All those GND filters as of right now are $87.99 US. The square filters themselves, if you want to get that just individually, they're $55.99, so $56. And if you want to buy just the holders and the adapter rings with no filters, those are $76.99. And then I'm seeing here some newer adapter rings that do not come in the kit. Those are going to be, wait a minute, I'm looking at this wrong. Okay, you can get, I'm sorry, I misspoke there. You can get a ND1000. That is the 10 stop plus all the holders for $76.99. You can buy the adapter ring separately for $9.99 US. And what do we have here? We got another page. We have another page. Why not? You can get just the holder set, no filters, just the 8 adapter rings and the actual holder. That is $39.99 US. And they actually have a natural, what they call a natural night square filter. That is a night sky filter. But yeah, so they have a night sky filter in the square format. Okay, I think I'm rambling now. At this point, head over to KNF Concept if you think you may want something like this. If you may want the KNF Concept square filter system, head over there. Like I said, I think everything is free shipping right now. Use my code thingy, get 5% off. And, you know, tell them I sent you if you want to. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed the review, folks. I hope you got something out of it. If you have any questions, well, you know where to put those, down in the comments. Yeah, until next time, as always, I'm Adam Welch. I don't know how to end these videos.